I know enough of me. I hand over the floor to Tim. I'm going to switch the screen.
In 2011, this is not 3D. I get to know John with a big show at the American Museum of Natural History, and we projected, well, the oldest colors of the universe. This is dispersed light information from the farthest objects in the universe recorded with Hubble Space Telescope, and it was animated. So this curve, this light curve, was really running over the planetarium. And this is how we got to know each other. I won't talk that much anymore about these projects because I'm here in a stereoscopic association, so I will present to you my new approaches connecting stereoscopy and making shadow graphs, making shadow pictures. This is my current show, a part of my show. I'm showing 5 pieces at the Goethe Institute at the gallery. And this is the anaglyphic shadow space. The left one is a mural. It's fixed, it's wallpaper, but the right one, that's an animation. Normally with a camera stereoscopy, in effect, you're looking with 2 cameras, one for each eye. And the principle is very easy. You can apply it also to shadows. You project 2 shadows, and one eye sees one shadow, and the other eye sees the other shadow. And that's it. My general interest arises for shadows. Well, there's a kind of anthropological component why shadows are very important. What makes shadows different from our conventional 3D looking into the world? They're usually two-dimensional, completely flat. And what's intriguing in shadows is really, but somehow, in a certain manner, they decode space. Well, we have an important scene of this coding of space, well, here in the allegory of the cave. Plato's cave is a scenario. You have bound people, and they're never seeing really something of the world, only seeing statues carried behind the wall, and they just see shadows. And so the thing is, he compares our primitive view of the world that we only see the shadows but not the real thing. So there's a big topic. This is a historical engraving from 17th century. So you see here the puppets carried by, and you see here projected the shadows, and then you see the people bound there looking up and, well, interpreting the world simply as shadows. Well, physically, this does not really work, and why? Why does the allegory of the cave doesn't really work?
Because we see things in 3D and the shadows would be flat.
Yeah, you're right. So the point is, you don't have a clue of 3D if you only see 2D. That in the cave something, and I'm talking now about anthropology, something very important happened with regards to shadows. You can show it with another engraving very, very well. They changed something with the light, and the light projecting the shadows. This very nice picture, it's also a drawing from the 17th century, shows very well.
Well, I think that what this picture suggests is that the sun is so far away that your shadow is the same, it's usually about the same size as the object, but here you have a very big difference between the...
You got the point. Here we have central projection. In sunlight, we have parallel projection. So, and you see it right, yet now in that season, if the sun sets and your shadow is projected to the wall, independent of the distance from the wall, your shadow simply has the same size.
These shadows are larger because the light source is...
Yeah, and it's a bit counterintuitive because the closer you go to the projection surface, the smaller the shadow gets. And the closer you're approaching the light source, the bigger it becomes. That's, from an anthropological view, very interesting because before, in natural light, we have, well, always the equal size of the projection. And now we have a kind of dissociation. We always need to think about the distance of this projected item. Where's the light source? Where's the projected item? So, and now we learn something about how an object can be represented. I think this is why we have this proximity between cave paintings and this artificial light is because here we start up to learn what space means in encoding space into a flat affair. And this is why shadows are important. And this is why I'm interested in shadows. I'm also a researcher, and while I wrote a cultural history of shadow pictures, so not about shadows in pictures, but when shadows really become the defining entity of a picture. But this is a bit more the theoretical approach in, well, what drives also my interest as an artist in the theme of shadows, because I'm interested in the concept of space. In doing all this research, one chapter deals also with X-rays. And with X-rays are shadow pictures. By the way, here, that's the principle for the people who are not familiar. This is a drawing from 1896. So Röntgen just announced his development in November 1895. So parallel to the invention, more or less, of the cinema. But X-ray, you can't believe it, at that time had much more impact to the people. It was really a pictorial revolution. Everybody was talking about X-rays. What the hell is that? How does it work? Everybody started to make X-rays. And the setting is quite simple. You have the X-ray bulb emitting the X-rays. In a way, it's a kind of particle accelerator exciting a certain material to emit rays. At the right hand, you have a high voltage source to make the voltage to excite the bulb. And while you have then in the black package, there's the film in, and you have the object lying on. So that's the setting. This was published in March 1896 in a French magazine. It's a stereo X-ray. This is how I came to stereoscopies. And when it came the first time across this, I said, oh, bullshit. This can't work. These are shadows, and it works differently, blah, 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 and so on. Then I bought a stereoscope on eBay, and I put the slides in and said, oh shit, it works. You have always the problem, it's a very early problem in X-rays, is, for instance, you have a bullet somewhere in your arm and you want to locate it. And what happened with the first X-rays is, well, oh, there's the bullet, and they opened up the arm and the bullet was not there because it's the geometry of a shadow picture.
Even though it's just a few inches.
Yeah, even as a few inches, yeah. And then the point is, because you're missing the information of depth. Well, then the quite easy solution is just to shoot two pictures. You can read more in my book if you know German. And now a big surprise, you can have a look to that picture and guess what that is. The interesting thing, you see it's dated 1909, from whom this stereoscopic view is. It's Wilhelm Conrad Röntgen. Röntgen did a lot of stereoscopic images. This is the nice thing. This is why I love it, because there's Röntgen's shadow. This was my very first approach to anaglyphs. You will see later on it's a bit more elaborated, to bring out a bit the shadow off. And let's come to New York. Is somebody reminding to the Ziegfeld Follies? Few of them, you know them, and you know also this, a patent issued in 1924. It's an inventor of a crazy instrument. Everybody knows it from an organ. It's Lawrence Hammond.
Oh, Hammond, right.
And Lawrence Hammond made a patent in 1924 how to project anaglyphic shadows. And not only anaglyphic, it will reach through the patent. He also proposes an electric shutter system that you can, well, connecting a lamp, projecting shadows, well, with the shutter system of the glasses. And this was the big folie. This made the people crazy in the 1920s in the New Amsterdam Theater.
Because they appeared naked?
Maybe. The thing is, it all happened behind the screen. But the figures, the naked or you don't know figures, they popped up really into the space. So this was a huge attraction during the whole 20s. Another guy who worked quite later, he's still alive, Ken Jacobs, experimental filmmaker, and he made performances with polarized glasses and polarized light. So that's enough of the history. Let's come into my work. We show this as a video. I love this interference of nature. And this is how all the things started. And then I was asked 2 years ago by a German curator and museum director from the Center for Arts and Media, Peter Weibel, to do something, a project for this wall. It's used for salt degradation. It's a very old machine, so you put on salt water and it concentrates by dripping down. And this city had this crazy idea. They have two of these used structures to make a kind of biennale and with video works projected on during nighttime. And well, I was invited to do something as well. And my idea was, okay, I saw the trees and so on. It's like, okay, I want to do such a shadow projection there. I created a lot of stuff for a test projection. And this was the test projection. It might look a bit good or not that good, a bit spacey. And the point is, this is real. These are real studio records. But in fact, if you were in place, it did not really work. And so this was a big appointment. It works slightly here, but can you imagine why it did not work there in place? It's the sheer size. The point, you have a completely different parallax. So I was so frustrated, and I wanted to drive home the next day. And then I had an idea, and it's like, wait a minute. Just let's try a very, very simple test. And the simple test had nothing to do with shadows. It simply looked like that. I made an Illustrator, black bars with rising red and blue pixel edges. Yeah. And then I saw, oh man, it works. It works. And so this was for me the calibration tool when I was starting to work on. And then I did another thing to have a much, much better control on all these pixel edges is I turned from recording shadows of real objects to modeling the shadows in the computer program. I modeled in 3D a street line nearby, just beside this structure. And I showed the whole day span from with the sun going over that street line right at the day of the opening of the exhibit. It's a bit like what you see here is a double star system. And the imagination is that you not only have a single sun, but you have a double star system, a red and a blue system. And as astronomers tell us, most of our solar systems are not single star systems. They are double or multi-star systems. And most of the stars also have a color. So probably we would have a different spatial vision with a double star system, because we implicitly within the shadows we will have a spatial information. This was the counterpart. This was central projection with two spots approaching the whole scenery and driving by. So, and it really was incredible because you really were thinking the whole branch is flying through the air. So yeah, but it was tough work. We did multiple tests, really with fine-tuning all the distances and yeah, another impression. I think this piece works quite fine. So what you see, all the contrasts are away, no halftones anymore, because it simply didn't work out on that screen. So, and yes, I had a walking person. The whole thing started up with a big foot touching and going away, and then you had the person passing by in both projections. So with the sun and with the spot. And with the spot that the head was blowing up. And this was the second part, showing a more geometrized sequence. I showed 6 circular projections with different, and now comes in another component with 4D models. Right one is a 4D model projected in 3D static, and what you have on the back is a tesseract. So it's a 4D tube changing continuously. So what we see is the shadow of a 4D projection continuously changing, and we reconstruct out of the shadows again a 3D model. The point is, what you're doing in a computer program, you're simulating the real physics. So there's no major difference. the cool thing is you have really hands-on on everything and every step. And for sure you can go somewhere with big sheets of photo paper and, well, there's no positive photo paper anymore. It's a bit tricky to do so. But with big screens and record it from the back. I'm making also, as you will see later on with the Polaroids, I have the proof of concept. It works also with analog means. But the thing is how much effort you put in and if it's really worth all these efforts. So what you saw before, I have a flat projection plane. And now my idea is, okay, let's get even more into space. So, and this is a 4-dimensional dodecahedron. So I put now this object into a box and I put in the center of the box a blue and a red light. And I projected this to the wall. I'm doing every New Year a kind of New Year edition I'm sending out to friends. And this was a kind of bricolage set. So you could cut out this out of the cardboard and made your own 3D a cube, yeah. And this is how I get interested into really this space. This is now looking from outside to the space. The next step is Blender. So how I model it for a space. And this is how it looked like in an exhibition last winter. And this is what now is currently on show in Washington. So you see it in my exhibition. And left hand, you see the Polaroids. And I have somewhere 2 of them here.
And these are anaglyphs. I
They're
can see it.
anaglyphs, yes.
Yeah.
I'm exposing the objects directly on the Polaroid.
With 2 colored lines?
Yeah. So it's the same principle, it's the same physics as with the 3D program. So, and this is what is currently on show, 3 by 9 meters in Washington. And somebody did a remark before, there's something very special within there. There's a difference between the right side and the left side. Because if you saw the scenario, how I made it, so the point is, on the one side, I have the red edges on the right side, and on the other side, I have the left side. So on the one side, so the shadows more pop in front of the image plane. On the other side, they go more backwards. If you have camera stereo anaglyphs, if you turn the glasses, it looks weird. And here, somehow, it works in both directions. What you see right hand is my most recent work. And I will show you that as a video. Is that thing familiar to somebody? It's a mobile, and you can see it in a museum in New York. Where can you see it? I just saw it this afternoon. It's in the Met Museum. And it's a reconstruction of a mobile made by Man Ray out of cloth hanger from 1920. So I let it run. I went to the museum, I took all the measures of the cloth hangers, including the holes, and so on, and it's completely computer modeled. It was about 150 CPU hours. just these 1,400 frames, yeah.
Is it seamless?
It's looped back and forth. I'm almost done, so with that, so for sure you need to watch it in situ with the big wallpaper. I have cards for my book, and I have also card for my new show, and I will show you them with my last slide. It's this show. It will be again an animation, but unfortunately it will run in Switzerland, in Basel. It will open up in 10 days while the rendering farms are running at the moment. My assistant checked the anaglyphic distance today, and now we're running to the final renderings.
Thank you.
So yeah.
Thank you.